Coolidge. Ever since Adam and Eve, men and women have been at odds with each other. But today, it's not what's happening in any garden, it's happening in the office, all right? Women see men as snakes who treat them as second-class citizens, and the radical feminists want a lot more than our ribs, all right? They want more promotions than men, higher pay than men. Basically, they want paradise, whether you're a man or a woman. The workplace is not utopia. It's a war zone, gang. Sexual discrimination in the workplace. We go to battle next. Now we got a topic, Coolidge second now. We got a topic that a lot of people are concerned about, especially the radical feminist groups. We've got a leader, Andrea Lynn, with us on home base tonight, founder of the United Federation of Women. Good evening, Andrea. How are you?
Good evening, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Nice to have you with us, all right? The United Federation of Women. Now, let me get this.
Okay.
All right, blow your nose later on, pal, will you? Or don't eat beans for dinner. United Federation of Women was formed as a direct result of what you perceive to be a rampant discrimination against women. Am I correct?
That's correct.
What do you feel is the basis for this discrimination in the workplace?
The most blatant form of discrimination is financial. Women now are heads of household. Women are raising children, unfortunately, sometimes without men as partners and husbands, which is distressing, but it need be done. And the most egregious form of discrimination really is financial, because statistically, women make 60 cents on the dollar that the men make for the same job.
That's up to 63 now.
Okay, sorry. For the exact same work. So
it takes time to train you guys, you know.
Yeah, it's not paradise.
Andrea, do you believe really in your heart that, why do you believe this is happening? Why do you believe it's happening? If you say men control the workplace, which I guess is what you're saying, at least the higher level jobs, why is this happening? Why aren't men letting women move up?
I am not an anthropologist, so don't hoot for the moment. However, an opinion, and please let me know if you agree or not. Okay.
Cool, I want to hear what she has to say.
The agenda of women is different from... I'm sorry, yes. The agenda of women is really vastly different from that of men. How many times have your lovers, your wives, come and said to you, let's talk. I need to talk about this. I need problem resolution. And the man, this is generally, the man will say, no, I don't want to talk. I can't figure it out yourself. Do it yourself. The agenda is different. Men, because of their, I think, feeling of inferiority.
What?
Yes, I know it. Okay.
You believe that men think they're inferior to women? Do you believe that?
I think they feel that way. Okay, wait. I tell you,
we're supposed to be this isn't a comedy show. We're supposed to be...
However, if you think that is really very comical, here's something even funnier. Socrates, hundreds of years ago, said this. I didn't. I read this. He said that the reason he thinks that men cannot be communicative with women, and the reason he will not allow them parity, this was, a zillion years ago, was because they feel, I didn't write this, he said that men feel that women are superior, and that therein lies the nub of the problem. Now, I'm not suggesting that all women feel that men are. Men, this isn't a battle. You have to please understand that men are our husbands, our sons, our lovers, our brothers.
Have you yourself ever witnessed discrimination against men in the workplace?
I have not personally. No, I haven't.
Do you think it's possible that men and not women are the ones that are experiencing the most discrimination in the workplace?
The most discrimination in the workplace?
Most.
No, I think that's
No.
At this point in development, that's impossible. Does it happen isolated cases?
Mel, fight. Mel's at the loudmouth. Mel, would you stand away from the loudmouth? respond to Ms. Lynn's comments, all right?
First of all, I got to explain the skirt because there's a significance. I mean, I'm comfortable in it, and you're right, but I'm making a statement. I'm making a statement.
It's a precious one.
Well, it's an important one. It's an important statement. It's not an accident that women can wear pants or suits and ties, men's clothes. But if a man takes a small step outside of a very narrow, limited male role, he's criticized for that, or he's ridiculed, or he's fired. A man who comes to work in a skirt might be fired by a female supervisor in a suit and tie. And if that happens to him, there are groups like the American Civil Liberties Union that pretend to care about equal rights. They won't take his case. They go to court to fight for women's rights, but men's equal rights just isn't a priority for them. See, this says men's equal rights is a priority for me, and that's why I'm wearing it.
Good for you. Do you fear, like Andrea said, that women are superior to men? Do you feel that you are inferior to women?
No, I think women may feel that they're superior to men, but, and this is an important point because I think this is what distinguishes the women's movement from the men's movement. The women's movement has been a movement about female superiority and privilege. What she wants is privilege in the workplace, and I hope we'll get to that. The men's movement is about equal rights. We have respect for women. We believe women are our equals. I would never say something as crazy as what she just said, and I think that you show a lot of sexism by saying something like that. Can we just set the record straight on one point?
Let me set the record straight that you're the director for the National Center for Men also, all right? Go ahead, set your record.
Look, we got to set the record straight on the money question. 60 cents on the dollar, 63 cents on the dollar. I want to say one thing, and I want this to, people at home get one thing, they should get this. When women do the same work as men, with the same education and the same experience, they make the same. They make the same amount of money. The reason that women make less money than men is that they take long periods of time off from the workplace to raise children or to do other things like get involved in the women's movement, and that's why they get less. When women make equal sacrifice with men, they get the same amount of money as men.
Is that right, Andrea? Well, wait a second. We're cheering like hell here, but I don't see any of the women clapping their hands. Andrea, is he just...
This is the only developed country in the world, in the workforce, that doesn't allow men parental leave and mothers parental leave with pay for 2 or 3 or 4 months. So it's a problem within the system, and I think that dads should be allowed to spend quality time with an infant should they choose to do it just as much as women do. And please forgive me, I don't want to be superior to men in the workplace. All we're asking for is parity. If we can perform the job, give us an opportunity to do it, and then pay us the same that our male counterpart is paying. We're not asking
all right.
to be paid
Let me
more.
give you a hypothetical here for just a second, all right? See, now the women are applauding. Now let me give you a hypothetical here, Andrea. You and I go to work for ABC Corporation. I've been working there 10 years, and I get up to president of the corporation. I'm there for 5 years, and I'm making $200,000 a year. Now, you have just moved with the company. You've been there 2 years. I retire. You move into the president's job, and they pay you $125,000 a year. Are you being discriminated against?
Not necessarily, no, not at all.
Okay.
Not
All
at
right,
all.
so
It depends what skills I bring to it.
she's answering your point, all right? She's saying that if she hasn't been in that workplace as long as you or I have, that she's not entitled to the same salary.
Yeah, but that's what happens. And when women's rights activists go around the country saying that women are making less money than men for doing the same work with the same experience and so forth, they're lying to you, and they know they're lying to you. And the reason that they do it is because they want to justify privilege for women, if we think like affirmative action and so forth. The studies say that when women make the same sacrifices as men, they get the same money as men. Let's just set the record.
All right, let me take a minute here, because we're going to come back. There's other things we want to discuss. We're going to meet the women who fought the most celebrated sexual discrimination case in this country, all right? Christine Kraft, join us. All right, welcome back. Welcome back, and a fine, talented young lady is on home base with us this evening in this segment, Christine Kraft. She is the anchor and the news director for KRBK in Sacramento, California, an area, a town in which I worked and was fired, incidentally. I'm glad that you're still there, Christine. She's also the author of a book called Too Old, Too Ugly, and not deferential to men. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right. Now, let me ask you. For people who may not be familiar with your
You
case,
bet it is.
for people who may not be too familiar with your case, can you explain how you came to be at the forefront of the sexual discrimination movement? Huh?
Well, more by default than design, actually. I started out in TV when I was already too old by competitive consensus. I worked in a small market. Then
How
went
old were you?
29. Went to a small market in Salinas, California. Went from there to KPIX in San Francisco, a far larger market than Kansas City could ever dream of being in its wildest. Went from there to CBS Sports. Did a segment of Sports Spectacular with Pat Summerall and Brent Musburger. Went back to my hometown, of Santa Barbara. Had been a competitive surfer for many years. I was 36 years old when I was approached by a station in Kansas City owned by Metro Media. I wasn't looking to go anywhere else. They said, we've seen a tape of you. I said, well, I haven't made a tape. They said, we've never had a female nightly anchor at our station. Would you come back and audition? We want a strong reporter. I said, look, I'm 36 years old. I've been a competitive surfer for many years. I've seen too much California sun. If you want someone who is bandbox perfect from tip to toe, who is a poreless vixen.
You really said all these things.
Yeah, I wasn't hired sight unseen. I'm not the person to hire. Oh, no, they said. We love the way you look.
Was the guy hiring you or a woman?
It was a man. When I first met him, I looked at him and I thought, gee, he looks just like an actor. Who is it? And I thought for a while, and I realized finally it was Roddy McDowell in full makeup for Planet of the Apes. This was not a handsome guy, okay? I ordinarily could care less what people look like, but I think I became very sensitive because of the case.
Before or after?
After, because I found out. He was the one who eventually
Okay, so he hires you.
They hire me, move me back to Kansas City from Santa Barbara, which is paradise, to Kansas City, which is arguably considerably less paradisical. I went there to succeed. I believe that anchors should be credible. I believe they should go out in the field and do stories. I know it's a maverick thought, that they should be able to not only be able to pronounce the word Shevardadze, but actually know who the hell it is. I know it's a maverick thought. I went back there, and the first night I was on the air, Roddy McDowell stood in the wings of the set, pointing and gesturing at my face and said, God, I don't know how to tell you this. I said, what? If I'd been a man doing the weather, I would have thought my fly had been down or something. It wasn't that. They said, did you know that your jaw is slightly square? Damn. Did you know that one eye is slightly larger than the other? Now, these are things that I had to curb my tongue because I wanted to say, don't you know I've had extensive reconstructive plastic surgery since you first auditioned me 3 weeks ago? Isn't it amazing how quickly the scars have healed? 9 months of pure hell. The emphasis, I would go out in the field. I was the only female anchor in Kansas City who did stories. I won awards and kudos for getting real credibility.
How were your ratings?
The ratings when I left.
What were they when you came?
They had been number 2 in news for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed steady during my tenure. The last month I was there, 4 days after I was removed, the ratings came out, and they were number 1 for the first time in 3 years. So, despite a lot of research that was done, focus groups, when they take people from the shopping center at midday, and they asked, one of the questions was, this researcher, a man, the TV consultant, who said that he was an expert in the regional vernacular. In the trial, he was asked, have you ever taken basic statistics? Well, no, but when you go to Kansas City, you got to talk the way those rednecks do. One of the questions they asked in determining how best to serve the public interest, need, and necessity was which one of the anchors these rednecks wanted to have sex with. Well,
it was one of the guys, right?
No, they didn't say, we don't want to have sex with Chris. They didn't answer. These men were appalled by this question, but that was deemed a negative.
Did you have that question in a folder when you went to trial to show that?
Well, through the discovery process in the lawsuit, of course, we were able to acquire all of the actual audio tapes from the focus group sessions that were fascinating. It doesn't just happen in Kansas City.
Now, a jury found in your favor.
Twice.
Right? But both times it was overturned.
The first time we won a trial in Kansas City, the judge, who was a Reagan appointee, nothing wrong with that, certainly, but a man who had said before my trial that he didn't think women belonged in the workplace, I'll defend his right to believe that. But when you're going to trial to try a federal case of sex discrimination, it makes you worry. When he threw out the first jury verdict saying that the people had been swayed by publicity, cited no fact or evidence that they had been, ordered a second trial for Joplin, Missouri. Now, Joplin, as you all know, is a town full of frothing feminists. They just burn their bras right and left in Joplin. I'll tell you, these are grassroots people. They work hard for their money. They were sequestered for 10 days in bad hotels with bad food, came back with unanimous verdicts, again, in our favor. The 8th Circuit, Metro Media, had warned me at the Kansas City Club, which admits women on alternate Wednesdays on the mezzanine floor, that I couldn't fight them, that they could afford to keep my back against the wall forever. I did not doubt that they could. But I find that many people who could care less about women's rights or TV news wonder how double jury verdicts can be dealt into insignificance. And I do a lot of lecturing to trial lawyers groups
Let me
on that
ask you a
subject.
question, all right? These, you know, forget the questions that have been written. Let's get into this for just a second. Yeah, absolutely. That's Secaucus gin. When you look at newscasters on television stations all over the country, you'll see the guys a little bit weathered looking usually, right? A little bit weathered looking. They've had to work for years to get to the Kansas Cities and to the San Franciscos and those areas, most of them, all right? And yet when you see the women, you'll see these gorgeous young 21, 25, and 27-year-old women in jobs that men struggled for years to get to. Is that fair?
No, I don't think so. I think that picking people for, and I hire and fire people at the station where I'm a news director, I think the most important question to ask them is not how pretty or handsome they are or if they're aging properly. You know, men, if you age properly, it gives you credibility. The most important question to ask is how smart they are. Now, I didn't file a lawsuit, Mort, because they told me I was old and ugly. I filed a lawsuit because they told me I knew the difference between the American and the National League, and I wouldn't hide it. As an 8th-generation American woman whose patrilineage comes from Jamestown, Virginia, I felt that knowing that was a birthright regardless of sex. I can't for the life of me, even to this day, say, "Oh, Grant, you've got highlights of this morning's game now, don't you? The
You ever been a
Orioles?"
news director before?
This is my first term as a news director, yes.
Were you hired by a man or a woman?
I was hired by a man.
So you think maybe men are changing and that you were hired because of your capabilities, because of your knowledge, because of your administrative qualities, which you say you'd never had done before?
I'm not so sure I have great administrative qualities, frankly. My major, I really got the job doing 2 full-time jobs, more by default than design. It's been very, very interesting for me. I am most interested, frankly, in covering California legislative politics, in running a very small newsroom. I'm not so sure I enjoy the bureaucratic aspects of running it, like making sure the trucks have gas.
Let me ask Mel. Mel, let me ask you for a second. Obviously, Christine feels that women are limited in their freedom of expression, both physically and intellectually. Are women's choices as restricting as Christine has told us?
Look, for her to sit there in a pair of pants and to allege that women are the ones that are discriminated against with respect to their appearance in the workplace is insane, and it's getting to be obscene. It's getting to be obscene.
Yeah.
This is what's going on in the workplace. Women saw that work was a place of glamour and privilege. They saw all the guys out there making the 6-figure salaries and being very successful. They entered the workplace. And they discovered what men have known for generations. It stinks out there. You get your teeth kicked in every day. You don't get the promotions you deserve. You don't get the raises. Men are dying 8, 9 years earlier than women. They have heart attacks at age 50. They get ulcers. I think women want an exemption from these rules, but I want to know why men don't get an exemption.
Go ahead,
from these
Andrea.
rules.
Andrea. Andrea looks like she's ready to spit your jockstrap out. Go ahead.
Glamorous things. In 1967, I was the first female disc jockey in the state in which I was living.
Which state was that?
Connecticut.
Connecticut?
And I did 2 years as a disc jockey and found that kind of boring, but at the same time I did radio news. I schlepped the way everyone schlepped. I went into the areas where it was drug-infested because there was a story there, and I went by myself because as the female, I shouldn't say that, as the lowest person on the totem pole, I had the night news. I did 6 to 12 at night. By myself, female, 100 pounds. All right, now let me finish. In 1969, I was hired by an NBC television affiliate. This is many, many years ago. I was 20, I forget, 29,
all right.
29 at the time. Now, when I was hired by the affiliate, being the first woman in the state to be a news reporter, the men would do things like, we'd be going to cover the Capitol, and there'd be 92 steps up to the governor's office, and foolish. They were, in the old days, Christine will know, it was film, a lot of gear. It wasn't mini-cam camera.
Go ahead. Well, let's not go.
So they would take the gear out of the car, and they'd say things like, so you want to be a foolish men thing. So you want to be a man. You're trying to be a man. You carry the gear. I thought, I can't even respond to this. It's so foolish. I didn't complain. I didn't argue. I did that until I became anchor person. I never went and complained. So don't say that we want special
I don't know
privileges.
you. I don't know you, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but look, you've had some good jobs in the broadcasting business, all right? My slip is not showing. I've had some good jobs in the broadcasting. You had some good jobs. I have a master's degree in public communications. I'll never work in your field because of the length of my hair. I've been to apply for places where women have short, let me finish now, short hair like you, medium length hair, long hair, and blue hair. And I've been told that I have to chop off a part of my body in order to be gainfully employed. You have privilege. You just don't know it.
Next, we're going to meet two men who say that they are being discriminated against because of their sex. And they're ready to go to court and prove it. Stand by. That's next. Welcome back. Now we're going to talk to some folks that we've had come to our Loudmouth 1 and Loudmouth 2. Robert Capaldo. Robert, would you identify yourself? This is Robert. He's a discrimination victim. And Amador Rivera is a discrimination victim. Give us your story, Robert, first, will you please?
Okay, basically I was working for Pan American World Airways. I was there about 2 years, and I decided to put an earring in my ear. Upon putting the earring in, I was told that I had to remove it or be terminated. I felt it was very unfair, that request, in light of the fact that women can wear earrings in the same job. So I refused to take the earring out, and I was terminated because of it.
Didn't you also offer to take the earring out when the hole closed up or something?
Yes, I did.
And they turned that down?
Right. I requested to keep it in until the hole was formed, and then I wouldn't wear it at work any longer. And
did they tell you when they fired you that was the reason they were firing you?
Yes, I have a termination paper specifically stating it was because of the earring.
Andrea, that doesn't sound very fair, does it?
It sounds very frivolous to me. If you wanted the job, I think you could have made certain accommodations. For instance...
What would you do? Wait a second. What would you do if they said, Andrea, I want your hair to grow longer if you want this job. I want you to look like a woman. Would you do it? Would you do it?
The answer is yes, if I wanted the position badly enough. And let me tell you what I did have to do. Way back in the 60s when I first started, remember the minis were really mini, well, like today. They were up to here. Now, in those days, they kept saying, we can't shoot you, Andrea, because no matter how I sat, they kept saying it's up. And they said it's very difficult. Now, I thought that was a reasonable request. And I said, okay, fine, I'll make an accommodation.
Nowadays, they'd shoot you and go on the Al Goldstein
well, you see,
show.
I consider myself a professional. I'm a professional, and I wanted the position, and within reason, and I thought that was a reasonable request.
All right, let me ask, how much money have you spent trying to get your job back or have this overturned?
So far, through legal fees, I spent $10,000.
$10,000 bucks.
To no avail.
Have you lost every time?
Yes.
Well, are you going to keep this up?
Well, at this point, I have one more step, which is the Supreme Court, and it'll cost more money.
You're going to spend the money to do it?
I'm going to try.
Where are you earning money? Selling earrings?
I wish. There's a big market out there for it. No, I'm self-employed at the time.
All right, so if you get up there, if you win, wait a second, when you get up, that'll be fine, sweetheart, all right? When you win this case in the Supreme Court, what if they only give you $1? Will you be
That'd
satisfied?
be fine by me.
So
the money is really the irrelevant.
Did you want to say something, Christine? Let me go to Amador Rivera. Amador, discrimination in the workplace for you. What was the problem?
Well, I encountered it twice. First time was in Indiana, was attending cook school. Women were allowed to have long hair as long as they wore a hairnet. We asked for the same thing, and they refused, telling us, well, they're women and we're men and they're different. Second, where I'm working at now, I'm supervisor. I wish not to mention the name, but right now I am fighting against discrimination. Women are allowed to have long hair, men are not. Women are allowed to have earrings, men are not. I believe it was 1974, they had rules and regulations stated that at one time that men and women would not be allowed to wear earrings. Fine. Now in 1984, they changed that, saying that...
So are they telling you can't grow your hair long?
That's correct.
You can't wear your earring?
That's correct.
Are you wearing it in the workplace?
No.
Are you keeping your hair short?
Yes, I am.
So you're not willing to fight it all the way the same way this gentleman has and lose a fortune?
I understand that.
Because what is happening...
There is procedures to follow, and I'm following those procedures.
Andrea, do you still feel that women are the only victims of sexual discrimination after hearing these stories?
On a case-by-case basis, I have respect for this gentleman, and I think he is right. This gentleman over here, I think the frivolity, and a woman would love to have the job. And I make the distinction this way. If the job requires a certain demeanor, if you have to dress, if they say you have to wear a uniform because that's part of the job, and you say, no, I don't want to wear a uniform. I get to, you know, that's
no, that's really getting into frivolity,
right.
All right?
But this person, if the women can have the long hair as long as they net it, then I fully agree that the men should be able to do the same.
Robert was working alongside of a woman who had 5 earrings in her ear. She still has her job. When you call his issues frivolous, more than your slip is showing, your insensitivity, your selfishness, and your sexism is showing.
There are many women who would love to be employed by such a prestigious organization and who would do what is required within reason. I'm talking about...
Christine, you've heard this. I know you're not at the cutting edge of the feminist movement by any stretch of the imagination. But wouldn't you agree that these are two fine examples of discrimination against men in the workplace?
I could care less if men on airplanes or as chefs wear earrings or have long hair. I don't think it makes a damn bit of difference as long as they do
So
the
there is
job.
discrimination
I
against
think there
men.
is plenty of reverse discrimination. I think it's just as repulsive, and I think it needs to be challenged. I just think it's a question of degree. It probably happens to women more than men. But
Next, we're going to meet a person... Next, we're going to meet a person who, by surgical means, has dealt with this issue both as a man and now as a woman, all right? Kimberly Grant joins us next. Stand by. We are rejoined on our home base by Sister Mary Mel. Andrea, women claim several different forms of discrimination at work, all right? One of them being sexual harassment. Is this another example of us men being controlled by our hormones? Be careful, baby.
Right. Yes, to some extent that it is. But I think what takes precedence over the hormones, they're in second position for them, and what takes precedence over the hormones is men's ego.
Men's ego?
Yes. I think that they have an inability to be communicative with women. I think they have to feel in a position of control. Whereas the woman, historically, has never been in control, and so we can accept it if it comes our way. However, men feel this need to maintain control over every situation.
Well, have you had sex with many men? I mean, that's really none of my business, but I assure you, I don't necessarily give a damn if I'm in control at that point. Yeah.
Well, in the workplace, men somehow feel that if a woman shows her intelligence and is not deferential, that it diminishes them, and it doesn't. It just says this is black hair and blonde hair. It doesn't have anything to do with diminishing people. Why do men feel they have to degrade women? Why do men feel, question, a genuine question.
Why do women feel they have to degrade men? They're doing it all the time now.
However, Morton,
You did it by quoting Socrates some 3,000 years ago.
But men have the ultimate hammer, don't they?
No, I think women have the ultimate hammer.
I think not, because men are in superior positions in the workforce, and men can, if they choose to. A man could beat us. They do. They badger women. They batter women.
You know,
Why?
you make this statement. Wait a second.
Is there ego?
Wait a second, please.
I know a great example. What about Rio? When 60 Minutes, what about Rio? I tell you this. The men were literally, you saw it. They were killing them, killing the women, and the men were off scot-free. Not one day in jail, no arrest, no nothing. No, we're real fast.
Well, we did a show last week about a woman who shot her husband with a .357 Magnum, all right, and got 75 minutes in jail.
2 women were murdered, and they said, well, why did you shoot your wife? And one said because she wanted to drive the car, true story, and the other one said because she wanted to take a course at the university. And in Rio, the man's honor, true, may be defended.
We're not in Rio now,
but it includes
Andrea.
murder.
We're not in Rio, all right? We're way ahead of that point. Mel, you wanted to say something.
Why, first of all, one reason why men aren't communicating with you, okay? I think that when men criticize feminism, you call them male chauvinist pigs. When they express their vulnerability, you ridicule them. I don't think you really want to hear what they say. I think you want to tell us what the truth is, and that's one reason we're not communicating
Well, we're
with you.
talking about sexual harassment,
Well, let me
too, in the
get to the
workplace.
sexual harassment.
Mel, you know as well as I do that women, I assume, like to be admired, all right? Women like... You don't like to be admired?
No, I like
You
to be...
don't like me to look at you and say, in my mind, I think that is one knockout lady, all right? And yet, if I say to you, I think you're one knockout lady, I'm in court for sexual discrimination.
Let's look at what's happening with sexual harassment now, okay? Sexual harassment is defined as any unwanted sexual advance. Asking a female coworker out to lunch might be sexual harassment. There was a case recently in New Jersey where a man got a $750,000 jury award against Hoffman LaRoche because the company canned him on a false charge of sexual harassment without even bothering to find out whether it was true or not. That's happening all over the country. The problem is that women really do expect men to make the first moves. They want us to do the work. So if we don't make the first moves, we sleep alone at night. If we do make the first moves, we can lose our job. We can't win.
Christine Kraft. Christine Kraft, you're a woman in the workplace. You're also a boss, all right?
Right.
I mean, are you going to get bent out of shape if I walk up to you and say, I think you are a knockout.
I think it's... Thank you. I think there's a question of degree. I think that anyone can tell...
Oh, sure. I think you're a knockout. I mean, you know, hell, you're going to get a little
I
upset.
think everybody knows if an attractive woman comes up to you and compliments you on your show...
She doesn't have to be attractive.
Or whatever.
See, I think, like most men, I look inside the brain of a woman, too. We're not all looking at their breasts and their rear end and everything.
I think it's a question of degree. I think you know when it's a compliment and when it's not. I think people are always sensitive to that, whatever sex they are.
No?
No, I also wanted to deal with the question of resentment because Andrea brought up the fact that some men resent women's presence in the workplace. This is an important question. Look, this is what's happening. Some of the men you worked with fought to defend this country. They defended this country in the Second World War in Korea and Vietnam, and some of them want to know why it is when they sacrificed in a way that you didn't sacrifice, you should now get the same privilege. What they're resenting is a double standard that exempts you from responsibility. I think their concern is fair and reasonable. I want a fair and honest answer to that.
What makes you think that women didn't sacrifice while the men were out there defending the country?
Oh, no. That really gets me very upset. Men were the ones that sacrificed to defend this country. Women stayed home comfortable and safe. And
you know why? Because the U.S. government would not allow women to be in combat.
100% of the people who were drafted were males. I'm just giving you an example of the fact that some of the men...
What about affirmative action? Where do you stand on affirmative action? You think you need affirmative action for women now?
I'm totally opposed to quotas. I was in '67 when they had them.
Well, quotas and affirmative action really aren't the same.
Affirmative action, in the extreme form, no. I think a sensitivity and an awareness, yes. And I really would like to see, if you can do the job, you get the job.
The way it stands now in this country is that if an employer discriminates against men, he can't get into any legal trouble. If he treats his employees fairly, with respect and dignity, he can get into legal trouble. That's sick. This country has an illness. The illness is called feminism, and we've got to try to stop it. We have to encourage people to treat people equally and with respect.
Why are you so
Right, I
threatened
want
by
to take
women?
a minute here.
What is so
I want to take a minute, all right? Now, this young lady, and I want you to pay attention, all right? I don't want any crap. This young lady was at one time a young man. You had an operation which I believe it was completed about 2.5 years ago.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Kimberly Grant.
Correct.
Kimberly, you've seen both sides.
Yes.
All right. As a matter of fact, now you've seen three sides. You've seen discrimination against men, discrimination against women, and I assume discrimination against you because you're looked upon in some areas as an oddity. Am I correct?
That's true.
Do you think now that you have become a woman, that you would have rather stayed a man, or that you're going to, and then your eyes open wide when I say that, I know, and that you are now going to have an easier life that you're a woman?
Two-part question. Under no circumstances would I ever go back to acting the part of a male.
No.
But that's just for me. As far as having an easier time as a woman, absolutely not.
Do you have a job now?
I'm self-employed as a psychotherapist.
as a psychotherapist. All right. Okay. Well, the point that Andrea brought up. The point that Andrea brought up. All right? And as a psychotherapist, you've had male and female patients. Am I correct?
Yes.
Which ones did you find it easier to communicate with? Which ones were more open to you? When you were a man, were the men very open to you as a psychotherapist?
Generally, yes.
As a woman, are the men still as open to you as a psychotherapist?
Men have trouble handling that.
Do they have trouble handling that, or do they have trouble because you are a transsexual?
No, because all my clients know that ahead of time.
So men have more difficulty communicating.
Yes,
with women.
It's general. With all I can talk about is with psychotherapy.
All right.
And in general, the male psychotherapist is seen as one of the ultimate authority figures in our society.
Mm-hmm.
They help you find out what's wrong. They help you get around it. They help you order your lives. And men, if they've got a problem, can go to see a male psychotherapist, and they can generally lay out their problems. Not so much as they have. I mean, because there are dominance games within the male gender, and to give up part of your power to another man, to let him know.
Let me cut through that for just a second, all right? As a male, did you have dominant genes that made you dominant and egomaniacal?
No, because only my body was male.
All right, your brain was not.
Correct.
All right. How many guys, let me see a camera on the audience. How many of you gentlemen out there would indeed have a problem talking openly to a woman, all right? Not necessarily Kimberly, but to any woman. Do you have a difficulty talking to women? How many?
Therapy situation.
How many in therapy, if you had to go to therapy, would rather have a man than a woman? Let me see a show of hands. Now, how many would rather have a woman than a man? I see more hands from men out there. More hands from men.
If they would be totally honest, if they would give their innermost feelings, though, would they really?
They are saying they'd be totally honest. You give your innermost feelings, am I correct? Huh? We're going to talk to the audience next, all right? Let's see what our audience has to say. Stand by. As usual, on any of these shows, you get the best stories out of our guests, and those guests are in the audience. They come here every night for the show. This is the most intelligent crew in America. Let's start with this young lady. Don't let me down now, baby.
I'm not. Don't worry. First of all, I wanted to make a point that these men who were up here and said they were sexually discriminated. Who are they being sexually discriminated against? Their own kind, the males. The males are also discriminating against you. It's not only the females, it's also the males.
You know, I want to tell you something. I lecture in a skirt. I'm an expert in this subject. 90% of men...
female pablum pukers.
90% of men have no problem with this. The problem is that for women, this skirt has become a symbol of their privilege. And whenever a man puts on a skirt, what he's saying to women is, your privilege is over. Women hate that message, not men. Men are willing to accept it. You see that?
You. It's for the person that was
and yet,
here
if you
before.
check with women who work for women, they'll tell you it's better to work for men in every survey than it is for women because women discriminate against them.
It depends on the person. First of all, it depends on the person.
Hey, who the hell cares where discrimination comes from? When it comes, it's no good, right?
I understand it's no good, wherever it comes from. The other gentleman who was here from Pan Am, he stated that he was fired because he couldn't wear an earring. Who fired him? A man fired him. The point is not only that maybe women are discriminating against you, but also men are discriminating against you.
He lost his job, and you're trivializing the issue.
Yeah.
He was denied an opportunity to...
Didn't happen to her.
No,
Didn't happen to
I
her.
understand that.
Yes, ma'am. Go. Zip it.
Didn't men make make the rules on how to dress in the workforce? Didn't men enforce that women have to wear dresses only or skirts only to work? They didn't say men wear skirts. There's no
Well,
rule
why
that
do
says
women wear
men don't
pants
wear
then?
skirts.
Why do women wear
Then
pants?
they changed it. The women fought for it, and they changed
Women
it now.
fought for an opportunity to cross-dress, to wear men's clothing. They fought for privilege. What men are fighting for is just to have the same choices that women have,
Then
equality.
Why don't make it out there and fight to wear a skirt? Let them go and
What
wear
we'll
a skirt.
do is
I
we'll
don't
fight
care.
to keep the top jobs. How's that?
Fine. Do what
fight
they
to
want.
keep the top
If
job.
you believe in it, go for it. But I don't see you
Ma'am.
fighting to wear a skirt.
Now,
First, I wanted to say that
my legs are bad. I don't
Christine
know.
Kraft, you've always been a role model for me, and I'm happy to see you here.
Thank
There
you.
are two things I want to say. One is that I do believe that it's a question of level, and that somebody getting fired because they can't wear an earring or have long hair or dress a certain way is absolutely trivial when you face the economic reality, 63 cents on a dollar. That is a fact. And when women...
Single women work each year since leaving school earn more than single men.
Excuse me, I would appreciate the opportunity to
But
continue.
the new
Right.
economic
You're
reports don't hold up your,
It's not
your
true
case.
what you're saying. I can't allow you to lie like that.
Well...
Let me try this lady.
Well, I had
Let
another
this
thing
young
I
lady.
wanted to say.
Go ahead,
I
finish.
had another thing I wanted to say, and it's actually very hard in this audience to express anything. But things are on a continuum, and this is a difficult point, but there are many women who feel insulted and not flattered when people yell, "Hey, baby," and make comments, "Nice day, lady," that kind of thing, because it's
Nice
on a
day, lady. What should they say?
It's because
Nice
it
day,
is
Ms.
on a continuum. Because it is on a continuum with direct violence against women. It's only a more
Oh,
refined...
stop equating everything with violence. I light the cigarettes for women. I open the doors for women. I stand up when a woman enters the room. I like to put a woman on a pedestal. It's easier to look up her skirt.
I'm not going to make points with the feminists because I'm going to disagree with this lady here because I don't experience the 63 cents on a dollar. I work hard. I don't experience discrimination. I have enough self-confidence in myself that if I do the job, I will get the pay right. So that's...
Equality starts right in the brain, all right? That young lady has her equality up here, and that's where it starts. We'll be right back. Stand by. All right. In the couple of minutes that we have left, let's go to these folks who are at the loudmouth. Sir?
All right, just this morning, I was sexually discriminated. Believe it or not, I filled out the application. I was qualified for the job, but they said I had to shave my beard off.
Had to shave your beard
Yeah,
off.
but I wasn't guaranteed the job either.
So if you could get a guarantee for the job, would you then shave your beard off?
I don't think so, because that's my personal appearance.
Okay, so you did not
Clean
want the
as it
job
needs.
that badly then. All right. How about you, sir?
I want to say one thing. All these people, they would be educated and everything like that. All these people up here, they're educated, they have good jobs. This lady over here, she's been talking, she's been saying a lot about women's discrimination against women. But look at yourself, you're educated, you got a job as a sports announcer and as a radio announcer, you made it by yourself.
Don't have to have an education for that. Believe me.
You're right on that. But I'm just trying to get a point. Man or woman, as long as you got a good education, you're going to make it and you're going to find yourself a good job.
How about you, sir?
I feel people should just be judged by their ability and nothing else. Men should not be forced to wear skirts or have sex changes. I want to ask, as far as the competition in the workplace and the incentives men have to have, let's say, if you meet somebody nice after work, who is she going to choose? You, let's say, who's the sensitive guy not making a buck, or the big guy making big bucks. Women do not want to go out with somebody economically beneath them in most cases. And women expect you to pay for the dates, at least initially.
Men don't want to go out with me either.
You know what it all boils down to? You know what it all boils down to? In the Garden of Eden, Eve tempted Adam with the apple. Now they tempt you with the and you go to court.
I'm Roland Smith. Next on the news at 10, candidates battle for airtime as Labor Day starts the race for the White House. Also, Tyson waits for the doctor's decision. And will 2 lucky lottery winners claim their huge prizes? That's next.